The walls have been painted and the bookshelves are up, so guess who went back to the thrift store? Hi everybody, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm Tanya, Dr. Lawyer turned homeschooling mom of 3 kids ages 8, 5, and 3. If you're interested in videos about homeschooling, thrifting, parenting a child with ADHD, and a little bit of minimalism, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I'm doing really well in my minimalism journey, but homeschooling is really not one of those areas. I really love books, and books will always keep coming into this house, especially now that I have an overabundance of bookshelves. One of the first things I'm showing you is just this little pad of construction paper and drawing paper. I always find things like this at the thrift stores that I go to, and if you've never been to a thrift store for supplies, keep an eye out for these because you can almost always find empty notebooks, construction paper pads with just 1 or 2 loose or 1 or 2 used, and they are often like less than 50 cents, so it's much cheaper than even at the Dollar Tree, and you can just grab a couple and keep them on hand. I don't restrict my children's access to these kinds of supplies precisely because I have so many packs from the thrift store. This is a little Nat Geo book that I got, Weird But True. I like to keep these in the car or just drop them off in my son's room. He is very good at reading, but he doesn't necessarily like to read chapter books. He likes to have those read to him at this stage, but he loves nonfiction, and he will read a book like this in one evening, and he loves sharing these little facts with us just over the dinner table or as he reads them. He likes to quiz us, and I just thought this was a very colorful, lovely little book. Another idea for books like this is just to throw it into your morning time basket because it's a nice fun way to add a little cute factoid to the morning. I'm always thrilled to find Osborne books at the thrift store because it's fairly rare for me, but they have a lot of these books, like Puzzle Island books, and they're a little bit more complicated than the average like puzzle book. They'll have like a little story or something and then an activity to spot, and I like that they're reusable for all the children because it doesn't necessarily have to be written down. It's more something that they can look at and figure out in their mind, so it's good for many children. I do buy some leveled readers, but only if I find them worthwhile, either because of the quality of the story or because of the educational value of them. And so Why Did Leaves Change Color? This one was actually beautifully done, and I was really happy to find it. I think this will be a nice addition to our morning basket in the fall. Here's another leveled reader, The Drinking Gourd, and this is a story of the Underground Railroad. It is level 3, so like I said, because it's about the Underground Railroad, I thought it would be a good little reader for my son. And with level 3 readers and stuff, this is really below his reading level, but I like to use it as books that he can read aloud to me and to his sisters. That way it increases his fluency, it makes him feel a little bit more confident about reading stories as opposed to just nonfiction. We are located in North Carolina now, and this particular thrift store had a bunch of mathematics like test prep books for different grades, and so I just bought a few. I don't necessarily use all of these, but in North Carolina you do have to take a standardized test at the end of the year, which you did not have to do in Texas. So I just thought I'd buy a couple of these, and I bought 3 because they were so cheap and I have 3 children, just to see if he is sort of on grade for that standardized test that he'll have to take at the end of the year based on like public school standards. This one was for 4th grade, and like I said, I bought 3 of them. They also had some Common Core English Language Arts assessments, and I bought 3 of those too, and these are for 4th grade. Like I said, I think my son could probably do this now. He's finishing up 2nd grade, but I just wanted to have them and store them. So since these are 4th grade books, what I'll do is put them into a banker's box and store them in the attic until 4th grade rolls around. This was a Hardcore Journeys practice book for grade 3, and it was just volume 1. Again, I don't work these workbooks straight through. It's more so that I can see if my kid can do this. And so I might pick a couple pages to give him to see if he can do these activities. But if I think that he can do this, we might never actually do this book. It's more for my own security, for me to feel that if my children had to go back to school, that they would be ready to do it at grade level. So it's a way for me to know where the average 3rd grader is. Here was another math practice book that I thought was cute, and this one was for grades 2 through 3, completely blank, and it's just drill work. I like having notebooks like this and math workbooks like this that are just drill work, because it's a good way to build fluency, just math fluency, and you don't need to buy a fancy Kumon one or anything like that. You can almost always find drill workbooks at a thrift store. Here's a grade 3 North Carolina mathematics book, and again, it'll be more for us to see whether he is able to do this type of math and ready for that end of the year exam. But I was really happy to find these. This was an interesting book. It's a Scholastic Read Aloud anthology for grades 5 and up, and it includes stories, poems, speeches, magazine articles, memoirs, and more. It has 35 different read alouds, and I like that it has a variety of types of literature so that we could go through, and I thought it would be a nice thing to add to sort of our private kind of reading time when I work with my son independently. And again, I like that it's a book that I don't need to replicate, so that this is a book we can read from and use again with other children. So here there's a memoir, and I like that there's little discussion questions at the end of each of these. So this is a book that I got, Harcourt Horizons About My Community book. It's basically a social studies textbook. I actually really like public school social studies textbooks because it's a little bit different than learning simply about geography or simply about history. It really is about like social studies, the kind that we had in school, and I like the progression of it and the different types of vocab that they learn. So like things like, who is the governor of your state? I might never actually ask my son that question without this book. So what makes a good citizen, different figures in American history, and then they go on to the earth, using natural resources. I like the way that they cover in general a broad foray through topics in social studies. I also like that they incorporate math skills like this, like reading a bar graph, and it talks about the difference between past and present. I actually really like a lot of Harcourt books. And you'll notice that if you mix different curricula like this, if you are eclectic like me, you get a really good spread and you start to see things over and over again as well in different formats, which I think is nice because then they can recognize that they're learning. And sometimes review is really, really helpful, and having like an easy read, something where they feel really confident and comfortable with the information, can be a nice boost in the middle of the day. 2 books that I got for myself included a Philippa Gregory one, The Virgin's Lover, and it's basically about Queen Elizabeth. I love everything about Queen Elizabeth. I'm listening to, I think, an Audible autobiography right now, and it's like over 25 hours or something. It's just super interesting. But I've always liked Philippa Gregory. She's not very historically accurate, but it's a really fun, easy read. And then I also bought The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. It's a book of his that I have not read. I think I've read most of his other ones, but I never read The Tipping Point. And so I like books like this. These books I don't generally read straight through. They stay in my bedside basket and I read a little bit at a time. I picked up 3 fun little toys at the thrift store, which I'm trying not to do. I think this was about $2, and it's a little Melissa and Doug grill, and it comes with these little vegetables. So here's like an onion, and they cut it apart because it's Velcro. So they just cut it apart like this, and then you can stick it onto skewers, and it's just a fun little activity. And with these toys, I really don't bring them out that often, because if you have them out all the time, they're no fun. But if you put them in a closet and then bring them out on occasion when you need your youngest, my 3-year-old in particular, to occupy herself for 15-20 minutes happily, that's the type of toy I bring out. So these actually don't go into their playroom or into their rooms. It just sort of stays in a closet until I need her to have a little distraction. But I thought this was a super cute little toy for $2. I really splurged on this one. This was $5, but it's brand new, and it's basically like fluffy fuzz doodle friends. So it's those really big, puffy, so you can see it's like really big, puffy, pig cleaner things, you know, so that's about the actual size. And they can make little characters out of them. It includes their little eyes and mouths and little skirt decorations and things like that. And they're reusable, so I think this is another really fun toy to pull out. Not something to keep out forever. You keep it together in the closet and bring it out when you need a distraction. I posted a picture of this on our Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, it's just Project Happy Home. And a lot of times if you want to see like what we do on a daily basis or how we do homeschool, that's a better place to see it, because I don't really put day in the lives or anything on this channel. So this is a little world puzzle by Mud Puppy, and I was really impressed with this puzzle, you guys. Not only because it had all its pieces, which is something to definitely check if you're at the thrift store and you buy a puzzle. But because the pieces were so sturdy and they were designed in such a way that there's always something at the break to help the child put the pieces together, which I think was really helpful for my 3-year-old. And she loves doing this puzzle, and she's done it over and over and over again. And so it's already been worth the $3 that I paid for it. So I really like this puzzle. If you're looking for a puzzle for a preschooler or a pre-K student, this is perfect. It's my Mud Puppy, it's Our World, just 25 pieces and really well done so that the kids can put the puzzle pieces together. I think Melissa and Doug makes one of the World, which is a little bit harder because the pieces don't actually fit together. They sort of rest against each other, which is great for an older student actually, because it really tests their knowledge of geography. But for a smaller child, where you just want them to learn how to put a puzzle together and to see the 7 continents, this was perfect. I was really impressed with this find. Last but not least, I got this really adorable fuzzy little coat for my youngest. So many of her clothes are hand-me-downs from her older sister that she's always really excited when I find something new for her. She gets her very own something. It's super soft on the inside. It's actually a Cynthia Rowley coat, and it has these shiny little buttons that she loved, and it is incredibly soft and warm, so it'll be the perfect little fall jacket for her this year. My 3-year-old is a little bit petite, so I felt totally comfortable getting a 3T, and it has little ears, little pom-pom ears as well. So I was happy to find this. And it has pockets for those of us who can't go anywhere without pockets. It's very cute because she knows my love of pockets, and so when she wears something that doesn't have pockets, she gets a little bit irritated, just like me. I love the thrift store for books. I would say over 90% of my children's books, probably over 95%, come from the thrift store, which is one reason why we have so many. If you're interested in these thrift hauls, please hit the subscribe button down below. As always, you guys, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for watching, and I wish you the very best day.